Hello folks and welcome. So I have a video for you today on SparkyLinux Xfce Desktop 7.1 Sparky, the brand new latest version from Sparky. It was released I believe last week, I want to say 9/13. Anyways folks, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things. First of all, I'm going to give you a tour and lots of tips and talk a little bit about Sparky if you don't know anything about Sparky. So first of all, I'm going to open up Terminal Emulator. And I'm going to drag this box, or try to drag this box, and just give you system information my way, using INXI. On some distributions, you have to install INXI. So I know this is small, so let me make this as large as I can get it on the screen. Don't expect that on everything in this video. So SparkyLinux 7.1, hot off the press, Orion Belt. I'll actually need to resize this slightly because all of the materials are not in there. So I'm going to, I still have a scroll bar in here, so I'm going to go even smaller. Let me reopen this. I'm sorry. I apologize. I went too big. It's okay. We'll just start this all over again. Okay, now at least I can see the corner of that. And hopefully this is large enough for you. All right, one more time. SparkyLinux 7.1 Orion's Belt. The GCC is 12.2.0. It's a 64-bit OS. Xfce Desktop for 18.1. Based on kernel is 6.1 series, and it is compatible with Debian Bookworm 12. All right, let me continue on. Using an AMD Ryzen 5 if you're curious. AMD graphics card, Radeon RX 550. It has a 4 gig video card, and I am filming in 1920 by 1080. You can adjust your YouTube player accordingly if need be. This does look gorgeous in 4K, and I can certainly film in 4K too. And the desktop runs in 4K also. But I'm filming in 1920 by 1080. Trying to spare you the real tiny icons. I know it's probably small enough as it is. So let's go to the internet and check out some information on Sparky. All right, I'm going to go to DistroWatch. All right, so I'm going to resize stuff on the fly, and that's probably good there. So I don't use the popularity factor on DistroWatch, but I do like the layout. So SparkyLinux released new information on 9/13, that latest version 7.1. They have lots of desktop. Today I'm talking about the Xfce. They do offer a live medium. For you folks that don't know what that is, that's basically you can test drive it without installing. It's Debian based out of Poland. Their website is sparkylinux.org if you want to get this. And let me talk about, I'll resize this on the fly also, a little bit higher. Again, that information was released on the 13th, 2023. Let's take a peek. I'm not going to read you everything in here. I'll spare you that. But anyway, Sparky is compatible with Debian 12 Bookworm. All right. Alt and F4 to close the window. Alt and F4 closes windows in Linux. If you are a dual booter, like with Windows 11, if you press Alt F4, it normally gives you a prompt to shut down the system. If you're on a laptop, you may have to use function Alt F4. So Alt F3, first tip of the day, does that. It's an application finder. I'll talk about software in a second. Alt F4 is the same thing as me clicking that button. Okay? So what can we do by right-clicking on the screen, and what are these icons? Well, first of all, these three are self-explanatory. Trash can, file system, and home. The demo is not a demo file, it's a demo hard drive. Okay, so you won't get this if you install that. So let me talk about the installer. So if you're installing Sparky Xfce, you're going to be asked a question if you want a swap file or a swap partition. And do you want it with Hibernate or not so much? Okay, just wanted to be aware of that. From the installer perspective, because this is fully installed. This is not a virtual machine. I don't really like to demo a lot of things on virtual machines. All right, what can we do by right-clicking on the screen? Lots of things. I'll show you some of their gorgeous wallpapers. Right-click, create launcher. Create URL, create folder, create an empty file or text document, open up terminal, and then desktop settings. I'm going to start at the top with create launcher, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one of these, and then I'm going to throw it in the corner just to show you the first tip of the day. Right click, create launcher, type in log. Some of you folks know how to do this, but some not so much. So create launcher, hit the create button twice. That creates another one of these. Then you can right click on it and open with create launcher on panel. It sends it in the corner, and now you got another place to shut down your system or restart or log out. I also chose the hibernate function when I installed this, so hence I have these. All right. I can also choose not to keep this if I don't want it. So I will delete it. This does not delete this icon. Right click. I'm going to create a poor man's web icon. Create URL link. A lot of people overlook this. I'm going to do one for Amazon.com to go shopping. Do you have to spell it correctly, and do you have to use the name in the name field? No. You can type it A if you like. I'm going to skip over the comment because they're optional. However, the URL, the Universal Resource Locator, has to be a valid website. www.amazon.com. I could leave the generic icon and hit create, and now you're done. So you can create one of these in like 15 seconds. However, I'm going to choose different icon. These are all just different icon sets and different categories. But I'm going to actually search for an Amazon icon. And sometimes they have them. They do. And sometimes they don't, depending on the distribution. But in either case, don't expect to find all your web-based icons here. But Amazon, it does. I'm going to hit create. It took me longer to talk about this. Double click. It goes and opens up Firefox and goes to Amazon.com. And I can resize the innards from 30% to 500. So a lot of you folks run laptops, and sometimes you actually need to go below that 100% to view proper information depending on your screen resolution. And for you folks that are running these large screens, sometimes it's really handy to go in like 120% or whatever. All I'm doing is holding down the control key while scrolling up and down on my computer mouse. My computer mouse is a standard computer mouse with a scroll wheel on it. Once I get it to the size I want, I'll let go of the control key, and now I can scroll normally. Okay, I can also open up a tab in here if I want and go to other places. And then hit Alt F4. Web-based icon. So right click, create folder, and let's skip over some of that stuff. Open up terminal is self-explanatory, and these are your standard wallpapers. If you decide to either change the folder or go into your file manager and change the wallpaper, this is a very important tip for you. You may want to either bookmark this. All my videos have timelines and chapters, is how to find this folder. Because if you click either backgrounds, you'll get the single wallpaper, or if you are choosing something from the system, I'll use the mushroom, and you decide you want to go back and find that folder. Clicking backgrounds does not find that folder. You'll need to go to other, and you'll need to find the other locations, in other words your drive. Okay, you need to look for the OPT folder, open that up and go to artwork and open this up, and then hit open. That'll blow those wallpapers right back in. So that's very important to understand in case you wanted to go back to these. Now I'll click that back because it's really not defined here. And you'll be hunting on the internet for this. Let me continue. I like this wallpaper. It's kind of cool. All right, so that was simple web-based icon, and then again that and the wallpaper information. So where do I start? How about software? So I can type in SY for Synaptic and open it up here. I can also use Terminal to install software, and I can use the App2 Software Center also. And you can also get it from the welcome screen. Welcome screen looks like this. And there's the App Center. This one's a little slower than Synaptic. So let me open up Synaptic first. So I'm going to use Alt and F4 to close this, and I'll come back to that. And I'm going to use Alt and F3 to type in SY and hit the Synaptic Package Manager. Okay, so I'm going to double click on that and then log in here. So Synaptic Package Manager, you can of course install software. 65,701 packages are listed here. I'm sure you can find a thing or two. 1815 are installed. Where's the stuff coming from? The repositories. And actually, let me resize it in a different way. So it's coming from Sparky and also from Debian. Okay. Installing software, click, mark. It requires other goodies, you mark it and you hit apply. You can also do searches. Anyway, 65,701 packages are listed in here. If you're wanting to use terminal, then I will briefly show you this and give you cautions at the same time. Be extremely careful if you're not too familiar with terminal, and do cut and paste and use commands in here. But I will show you the install command for installing Simple Screen Recorder by using history. All right, so this is a typical command, and I will make this larger for you. A typical command for installing software. Sudo just means super user do. apt install is the command, and the name of the application or software is Simple Screen Recorder. That is what I'm using to record this video, and that is how I install that. It's very quick. You perform this command, it asks you for your password. It takes off and asks you one more time, yes or no, do you want to install? And I do yes, goes through the cycle, installs. This normally takes a couple seconds, maybe 15 seconds, depending on your internet connection. The rest of these commands are INXI, again, system information. So if I were to copy this command and paste it in here, okay, this I get a potentially dangerous, but since I used this command already, I know it's safe. I'm going to hit enter. It's just system information. Okay, this time I'm going to type in exit. There's another way, X in the corner and Alt and F4. Exit it is. Okay, so the App to Center you can get from the welcome screen. Also, it's sitting right here. But your welcome screen has all these links, and I'm going to open this up. Now this is a little bit slower than Synaptic. Just be patient. So again, hopefully you're online. And anytime you install any Linux distribution, the number one thing is to make sure that your network card works, because otherwise we can't do updates and install software. But in either case, the App2's App Center is point and click. I'm just going to click on Internet. And as you can see, it's not super responsive. I've already clicked. I'm just waiting for it to respond. All right, web browsers. And I can pick like the Brave or the Google Chrome or whatever else I want. And when you click these, also just wait. There'll be a box that'll prompt you for the install. So again, if you prefer to use Synaptic, it's a little zippier than this, then by all means. Of course, using terminal is the fastest. But again, you don't always know the name of the packages. All right, so you can see this other stuff in here. So that's the welcome screen. Shortcut is also here. All right, let's start with the menu. We have the name of the user, new Sparky. It's just a made-up name. At the top, we have the settings manager, lock screen, switch user, and the multifunction logout, restart, and all that good stuff. The same key that I created earlier. Okay, we can also do searches in here. You can also use Alt and F3 to do Alt and F3. Remember, you can start typing for things. Like if I was looking for something to do with cal, Q later. It's actually calculator. But anyways, you could double click, launch, close. Do the same thing here. All right, so calculator's right there. So I'm going to clear the field, and I'm going to first talk about settings manager. And I'm not going to talk about every setting, but I'm going to give you some tips. So anytime you make changes to anything, let's say you're adding a theme or you're changing a theme, may I recommend a screenshot tool. Type in SC. Open this tool. You can do the entire screen, active window or select region. If you do the entire screen, it makes for a bigger file. It takes a picture of your wallpaper in addition to the box, but never takes a picture of itself. And it'll also do your panel. If you do the active window, it only takes a picture of this box. You can lay this right on top. I'm going to demo that for you right now. And I'm going to save this on the actual desktop. It names today's date and time and hit save. There's the screenshot. I can clearly see what's highlighted in here. Or if I clicked on two things, you may want to redo the screenshot. Whichever. Okay? But at least you can see a screenshot of something. So I'm going to get rid of that. Hopefully you got a good memory. All right, so we have styles, icon sets, and if you want to change the font to something bigger, hit the plus or drag. Custom dots per inch, you can also increase, and also be careful with the scaling. Continuing on, desktop, again, wallpapers. Where's this located again? OPT artwork, in case you forget. If you decided to use different wallpaper and you're trying to go back to the system wallpaper. OPT artwork. File manager settings, behavior not yours, is set for double click. I'll talk about the file manager almost last. The panel, you can increase or decrease the size. Don't know why you'd want to do that. Be careful turning this off. It will eliminate these icons if you go almost to the nothing. Okay, at least this accommodates to whatever stuff you have on. Most people don't play with these, but I'm going to give you the example. You're allowed 6 rows. I usually increase the number of pixels up here. That would be row pixels to make this a little bit taller. Automatically hide the panel or not. Intelligently hide, you may want to select that if you want to do full screen and hide the panel automatically. And then when you're out of full screen, this will reappear. Never is just always leave it there. Self-explanatory. Going back, that was panel. Skipping over text editor settings, window manager. You want the X, this guy over here, click that and do that. Now the X is over there. You want the rest of these buttons to follow, then drag them over here also. I'm going to pull that back. This is standard behavior for most Xfce desktops. You can do that. It's not specific just for Sparky. All right, so I am going to probably skip over to this. Filming again in 1920 by 1080, you can see that I can film in 4K. I wanted to spare you the small icons, but it does look gorgeous in 4K. Okay. So anyways, anytime you change that and you change the screen resolution and the refresh rate, hit OK and wait for it to acknowledge. If it stays black, don't panic. It should time out. Don't turn your computer off. All right, keyboard shortcuts. I do have some additional videos. I think I posted one the other day for a different desktop, but it was also Xfce if you're interested in custom commands for this. Don't forget the standard one, the Alt and F3. Alt and F4 closes Windows. Alt and F3 opens your application finder. All right, mouse and touchpad. The only theme you get is this one. I added this one manually. This one is installed in .icons. I will show that in your file manager later. This one is installed in USR share icons. That's protected by root permissions. And anytime you install this thing, this is what you get. You don't get this one. But I will show you where I installed it a little bit later, because there's no install key here. You could technically install stuff through here. And sometimes this doesn't work either, even if you have the file. That's why I use the file manager. And I have tons of videos for different distributions on how to do this. However, they all get installed only in 2 locations. Moving along, Power Manager, Ask. What does that actually do? It does the same thing as this. On some distribution, you will find that it says nothing, do nothing. I'm not sure what kind of computer you have, but sometimes that power button on your laptop, you might want to press that. you can also change that to something different. I'm using a tower computer today with a standard USB-based mouse with a scroll wheel and a fairly standard keyboard. All right, so this just reminded me to just inform you that when you install this thing, you don't have to install additional codecs to interpret like MP3s or WMAs. It'll play those right out of the box. In other words, you just throw your music in the folders and you double click on them and they start playing. All right, on some distributions, you have to install additional codecs. That it decodes the file so it can play on a music player, for instance. That's what that means by codecs. Accessibility options, default apps, and I'll talk about one thing that I changed for default apps, and that was how it opens up JPEGs. It actually opened it with Firefox, and I changed it to image viewer. When I open up the file manager, I'll talk about that. The firewall is GovW or UFW, and it comes turned off. If you need the firewall turned on and you're doing file sharing, don't forget about those rules. Other than that, I'm going to skip over the rest of the stuff and continue. Walking through the menus, you got your favorites, file manager, web browser, Thunderbird is an email client, LibreOffice 7.4, and it's got a whole suite of stuff. And yes, they do save in Microsoft formats if you're never used LibreOffice. LibreOffice is also available for Microsoft and Macs. You can just Google that or use your favorite search engine. Now, the Aptus VOC is just a media player. Aptus App Center, again, you can get it from the welcome screen also. Terminal emulator and an upgrade tool. All right, so what's in the accessories? Lots of things. And don't forget, on an Xfce desktop, you can resize these. Okay, so Application Finder. Another one is Alt and F3. Calculator. And I'm not going to read everything that's in here. There's a screenshot tool. Thunar is your file manager. I'll get to that last. And development only has one thing installed, graphics. You've got these three items, and then you can, of course, install like GIMP. GIMP is like Photoshop. You can do that through Synaptic or other means. Internet, you get the Firefox. I added the Chromium. And then you get the rest of these installed. Multimedia, I added Simple Screen through Terminal. You get the other stuff. This is also a screen capture tool, but if I had my choice, I normally pick this one. This is not too bad though. Office, again, it's LibreOffice 7.4, I believe. And LibreOffice Writer is, you can also save that in Microsoft formats. Spreadsheets and etc. Systems, settings, lots of toys and tools. Now, under System, there's a couple things I'm going to talk about in here. Here's your Aptus App Center, the Debian package installer. If you're doing standard packages, I would stick with not downloading off the Wild Wild West if I were you. In other words, download stuff from the app centers. That way, you can try to keep the malicious software out of your system. It does have gparted installed if you are redoing your partitions on the system that you're not booted into. And I have a spare hard drive in my machine. gparted is also found on your installation media on a lot of Linux distros. You have the USB creator, and there's two of them. Print settings, you can see that my printer was auto-discovered. I didn't really need to do anything. Synaptic Package Manager, again, another way to install software, system information, system upgrade tool. And then you have TimeShift. I do encourage that you activate TimeShift. It's a system restore utility. It's found on many Linux distros. And when you open it up, go through the wizard, and under default conditions, it uses rsync, remote sync. You click that, and normally it defaults to keep in 5. So in about a week, you'll have 5 backups. And TimeShift doesn't open all the time. We open it up, you set it up, and most people forget about it until the time you can't log into your system. Then some people reinstall and forget all about this tool. But if you have TimeShift running, it's making backups of your system files. And TimeShift is found on your installation media. So you can bring up your installation media, boot it up, open up Timeshift there, won't require a password, and let it scan your hard drive, providing your hard drive is still bootable. And then you can click a restore point, and then you're back and good to go in about 10 minutes. I have had to use that before because I run so many Linux distros on so many hard drives. Okay, disk formatter, and here's again is the welcome screen. All right, so that completes the whole menu. Let's talk about the file manager. So the file manager for this distro is Thunar 4.18.4. It's the default Xfce environment file manager. There's a lot of standard commands for every Thunar, and I'm going to talk about some of my tips and tricks. One of the reasons I use this yellow mouse pointer is to point to this line there. So this is hard to see, but I'm pointing to the top of this box or window. So the pointer tip has to be below that line for me to do this. I'm not clicking on an icon when I'm doing this. This is the same thing as clicking that. However, this target area is so small, that's why I use this feature. All I'm doing is resizing the box. It's the same thing as clicking that. If you are to right click and manually resize this box, so let me right click, resize, and then click this, open and back and forth, it's the same thing. Okay, I'm not resizing the window, I am just going from small to big by doing this. All right, next item. These icons are normally smaller. Edit, Preferences, Side pane. These are your standard icons. You may want to increase that. Again, if you install this. The behavior is set for double click, my preferred. My preferred is always double click. If you activate single click, some of the options that I'm showing you may not behave the same way. All right, resizing these icons can be done several ways. Click in, out, and normal. Hold down the control key and repeatedly hit the plus. Hold down the control key on your keyboard and repeatedly hit the negative. Or hold down the control key and hit 0 for normal size. Or you can click. Holding down the control key, plus, 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 makes them bigger, bigger, bigger. Let me go full screen. All right, you get the size. And then I'm going to hold down the control key and go minus, 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 minus. That took a long time. I'm going to substitute the plus, the minus, and the 0 all at the same time. Holding down the control key using my standard USB-based mouse with a scroll wheel. First holding down the control key, hold down the control key, scroll forward, scroll back, and in between. Comes in handy for pictures. Now, this normally, when you first open this, at least for me, it opened with Firefox. Okay. However, I changed that. You can also hit the space bar. So I'm going to put it back to default. This is what happens. It opens this up with Firefox. If you don't care about that, then leave it. However, you can also right click, open with Image Viewer. It already is installed. So what can I do by hitting the space bar and looking at this little box? Well, I have a bunch of stuff where I can just walk through the images or do the plus or minus thing and some other tools. And I can also take and hold down my control key and scroll backwards all the way down, in this case, to 2%. I know it probably looks like a tiny square. And then I'm going to still hold the control key and scroll forward on my computer mouse to 2000%. That's ridiculously large. But you get the idea. All right, I'm going to go somewhere in between. That's 92%. So that image size is 1024 by 720. How do I close this box? X in the corner. What's another option? Alt and F4. What was Alt and F3 again? Alt and F3 opens the application finder. Alt and F4 closes this box and any other box. All right, so I'm going to demo just changing the wallpaper. And what it's going to do, it's going to change the default location when you do this. So you can bring in your own wallpapers. Maybe it's your kids, your pets, your friends, or some other wallpaper off the internet. I'll use this funny looking guy here. So I'm going to right click on that image and set as wallpaper. Now you can see it. I'm going to briefly close the file manager and then I'm going to right click on my screen And I'm going to go back and try to change this back to the default by hitting backgrounds, and look what you get. All right, that's, hopefully you remember what I said earlier. You want to find the OPT folder, other locations, computer, OPT, artwork, open that up and hit open, blows them back in, and close. Opening up the file manager again, I can do it here or I can do it here. All right, so talked about resizing icons on the fly and resizing the window this way, right-clicking and resizing also that way. These icons over here are done through Edit, Preferences, and Behavior here. Again, these are default, and if you want them really jumbo, here you go. I think that's probably plenty big on mine. All right, there are hidden files and folders in here. The very standard command for most modern Linux file managers is Control-H to show hidden files and hidden directories, or another name for directories is folders. So you can either click that or use Control-H. I'm going to toggle that, Control-H, to let you see the difference. So there's other stuff behind the wall, as one would say. So I created this folder, right-click, created a hidden folder called .icons. And what's in this one is my mouse pointer or cursor. It's called Radioactive. This is what's running this mouse pointer. So it's installed in .icons. So where's the other one installed? That's down under here. Where's this one installed? Well, this one is installed here. Under File System, I'm going to resize these on the fly if you don't mind. And go to USR, Share, and go find the Icons folder. It's right next to I-18 in this case. Might be different on different systems. That's this one. This folder here is owned by root. It has root permissions. That means you can't remove and add files to this unless you are signed in as root. I used to show how to install mouse cursors or mouse pointers in here on my previous YouTube channel. I am now showing that you should be doing that in here. Well, you can do both, but this is a lot easier because you own this folder. You're the user, and you can create these. And I usually install more than one. On my demo system, I have lots of different mouse pointers that I can uncompress and install there. I'll do one right now. And as soon as that's finished, I will, that's okay. Let's take a look at it. It looks like it's done. Even though I got a slight error, it's no big deal. It's just coming off the drive. I'm going to copy that and throw that into here. And let's go take a look at it. So I'm going to have to pick it from here though. There's Pokemon. That's what that looks like. And it is resizable. I can go to Dinky. This goes all the way to 16. You can probably barely see that thing. I'll go back up to 72. So that's how you add a mouse pointer in a hurry. I'll go back to Radioactive. Okay. Normally, I would also recommend that you log out of your system when you change mouse pointers on any Linux distro for that matter. So if I didn't want this thing, I'll show you how easy it is to do this, but I'm going to dump my trash first because I'm going to do a restore. And I just didn't want to go through all those files. So I'm going to get rid of Pokemon by hitting delete on my thing, so all I have is Radioactive. And just to let you see that it's gone, this is how quickly you can do this in your file manager. See, it's gone. And I'll open this back up, go to the trash, and restore. And now that mouse pointer is back online. You're just using the file manager. Okay? I'll go back to this and continue. So, file manager can be your friend on a lot of things. I'm really not going to talk about any more of the hidden files and folders. Born Again Shell history maybe. So I will use, that one's access denied, so let's use mousepad. There's my install command that I was showing you earlier. That's where the history is stored. Bash stands for Born Again Shell. It's a hidden file, dot. So anything with a dot in front of it is a hidden file, or if it's in folder shape or directory, these are hidden files and folders. And there's lots of stuff in here. But more importantly, here's another folder that is normally huge. Control H. So when you are installing backup programs, I'm not talking about TimeShift, nor under normal conditions. The TimeShift utility is backing up your system files. But if you install grsync to back up your files, you may want to take a look at some of my videos. You can also use script files. But you normally don't want to back up your whole home folder because of folders like that. These are usually huge. And it makes for a humongous backup when you back up all your hidden files and folders. Under normal conditions, you're just copying your personal stuff. Maybe documents, maybe I have some stuff in here. Maybe documents, maybe music, pictures, personal folders. Speaking of, you should be able to bring in your music files, and I'll just open up one. So I have, looks like MP3s here. This should play right out of the box. Okay? So that's the player, that's default. You're gonna, of course, install your favorite player. 3 ways to install software one more time. You can use the App Center, Synaptic Package Manager, or Terminal. And I think I am almost at the end of this video, and hopefully you enjoyed some of those tips. Take care, folks.